Everyone wants to get rich off crypto, but almost nobody is training for it. You train for a marathon. You train for exams. But when it comes to generational wealth, people treat it like a lottery ticket. They throw a little money at XRP, hope it moons, and when it doesn't, they rage quit the market. The truth is, wealth in crypto, especially with something like XRP, doesn't come from hype. It comes from habit, from patience, from rewiring your brain to think like the investor you wish you were. If you're serious about building long-term wealth, and not just chasing the next pump-and-dump hype cycle, hit that subscribe button. This channel is built for people playing the long game. Welcome to Be Crypto Smart. Let's not sugarcoat this. Most people are hardwired to lose in crypto, not because they're stupid, not because they lack research skills, but because their brains are biologically addicted to doing the exact opposite of what makes you wealthy. They chase green candles. They FOMO in at local tops. They sell bottoms because someone on Twitter said, XRP is dead. They're not investing. They're reacting emotionally, impulsively, destructively. And the worst part? They think that's normal. You see, this isn't just a matter of strategy. It's neuroscience. The reason you feel the rush when XRP moves 10% in either direction is because your brain is chasing dopamine, the same chemical released when you scroll TikTok, play video games, or eat junk food. It's instant gratification, and it kills long-term thinking. But here's the kicker. You can rewire your brain. Literally. Neuroscience research from places like Stanford, MIT, and Harvard has shown that with the right inputs, your brain's reward system, your prefrontal cortex, can be trained like a muscle. This isn't self-help fluff. It's called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reprogram itself based on repeated behavior. When you consistently delay gratification, resist FOMO, and act based on logic instead of emotion, your brain adapts. It starts rewarding you not for chasing hype, but for staying patient, for being strategic, for thinking long-term. Let me put this into perspective. You train to build muscles at the gym. You train to master a sport. But when it comes to money, to generational wealth, people think it's supposed to just happen. No training, no rewiring, no mental upgrade. Just throw in a few $100 and hope XRP moons overnight. That's why most people fail. Now, think about how elite investors operate. They're not checking the price every 5 minutes. They're not panicking during corrections. Why? Because they've already trained their minds to detach from short-term noise and focus on long-term utility. And that's where XRP comes in. This isn't just a token. It's part of an infrastructure revolution, a project aiming to rebuild the global payment rails from the ground up. But if your brain isn't wired to see that, if you're still stuck in gambler mode, you'll miss it. You'll panic sell the one asset that's actually building real-world bridges while you chase digital slot machines. Let me hit you with this. Before you stack XRP, you need to reprogram your brain. Not to chase hype, but to observe fundamentals. Not to react emotionally, but to respond strategically. Not to trade like a retail speculator, but to hold like an institutional architect. And this doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means becoming mentally free. Free from the emotional roller coaster that wrecks 90% of retail investors. You want to know why smart investors win? Because they've built mental immunity. They've turned discipline into default mode. They're not wired for instant gratification, they're wired for long-term value. It's the same mental training elite athletes use to stay focused in high-pressure moments. It's the same cognitive conditioning Navy SEALs use in the battlefield. And yes, it's the same rewiring that smart investors apply to wealth building. You're not just trying to buy low and sell high. You're trying to become the kind of person who sees value when others see nothing, who holds through boredom, who doesn't blink when the market drops 30%, because your conviction is stronger than your emotions. This is about more than XRP. This is about building the kind of brain that gets rich and stays rich. Because in the end, the people who make it in crypto, they're not the loudest. They're not the luckiest. They're the most mentally trained. And the training starts now. Let's make one thing clear, XRP will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your belief. And it will test whether you're here for hype or here for a seat at the future of finance. XRP is not a get-rich-quick token. It's a get rewarded for understanding global finance token. It doesn't give you the short-term dopamine hits that meme coins do. It doesn't spike because of celebrity tweets or social media trends. It builds in silence. It integrates in the background. And it's doing something that most people don't even have the patience to understand. It's laying the groundwork for a new financial internet. And that's exactly why most people miss it. Because if you don't understand the bigger picture, you will panic sell. Period. You'll sell at 68 cents because you don't realize it's on a slow march toward becoming a bridge asset between central bank digital currencies. You'll sell at 47 cents because someone on Reddit said XRP is too centralized. You'll sell at 89 cents thinking it's the top, while Ripple's quietly onboarding global payment providers, central banks, and Wall Street-grade liquidity platforms. This is what makes XRP the ultimate psychological filter. It doesn't just require capital. It requires conviction. It doesn't just reward speculators. It rewards people who understand how money really moves behind the scenes. Think about what XRP is actually trying to solve. It's not just sending tokens from wallet A to wallet B. It's tackling the friction that slows down the movement of trillions of dollars every single day. Foreign exchange inefficiencies, cross-border bottlenecks, compliance blind spots, liquidity gaps between currencies. XRP isn't here to entertain you. It's here to replace the financial duct tape holding together our outdated payment systems. Look at RippleNet. It's being used to enable instant settlement across borders with no pre-funded accounts. That's a $155 trillion cross-border payments market being cracked open. Look at ODL on-demand liquidity. It's solving the nostro/vostro dilemma that banks have battled for decades. It turns XRP into a liquidity engine, not just a speculative asset, but a core part of financial infrastructure. Look at ISO 20022 compliance. XRP is already compatible with the messaging standards that over 11,000 banks and financial institutions around the world are moving toward. This is not hype. This is plumbing. This is the kind of slow, deep infrastructure-level integration that rewires how value moves on a global scale. And guess what? That kind of work doesn't come with price fireworks every week. It doesn't trend on Twitter. It doesn't satisfy the meme coin crowd. And that's the beauty of it. Because the longer it takes, the more it filters out the noise. XRP is not asking you to predict the next candle. It's asking you, can you see the rails being built beneath your feet? If you want to train your brain for real wealth, study how XRP is being positioned globally. Stop refreshing the 15-minute chart. Start refreshing your understanding of macro finance. Look at the World Bank documentation that cites Ripple as a solution provider. Look at the BIS reports on cross-border CBDC interoperability. Look at the pilot programs with countries like Colombia, Palau, Montenegro, Bhutan. This is what long-term conviction looks like. It's not blind hope. It's informed belief. Because you're not betting on a random coin. You're betting on a token that's being tested by governments, banks, payment giants, and financial regulators as a bridge for the next generation of money. And that belief, that knowledge, that's what gives you an unshakable edge in this market. You don't need to refresh the chart every 5 minutes. You need to refresh your mental model of what's actually happening, not just with XRP, but with the future of money itself. Because the people who will get really rich from XRP aren't the ones guessing the next pump. They're the ones quietly stacking, studying Ripple's global expansion, and understanding that real wealth comes to those who see what others overlook. Let's get tactical. Because mindset without method is just motivation. And motivation dies fast. This isn't just about thinking differently. It's about training your brain, literally rewiring your mental habits so that smart XRP investing becomes automatic. Not forced, not hyped, wired in. Here's your 3-step mental blueprint to invest in XRP wisely, not just emotionally but neurologically. Step 1. Rewire your inputs, control what you feed your brain. Let's be real. Your portfolio is only as strong as your information diet. If your YouTube algorithm is feeding you meme coin explosions, next 100x garbage, or influencers who say XRP is boring, guess what? You're feeding your brain mental junk food. That stuff is designed to hijack your dopamine system. It's fast, it's addictive, and it kills your ability to think long-term. So change the input. Unsubscribe from noise. Block distraction. Curate your own algorithm. Fill your feed with Ripple's quarterly market reports, IMF and World Bank documents on cross-border payments, deep dives on CBDC interoperability, ISO 20022 adoption timelines, liquidity protocol case studies from RippleNet integrations. Start listening to what institutions are saying, not what TikTok is screaming. Because once your brain starts consuming signal instead of noise, your thinking changes. Your timeline shifts. You stop obsessing over 5-minute candles and start zooming out to 5-year infrastructure shifts. This is the mental reset every smart XRP holder needs. You don't just follow the money. You follow the architecture of money. Step 2. Delay the dopamine, train your emotional discipline. Here's the hard truth. You will be tempted. When XRP jumps 20%, your brain will whisper, "Take profits now." When it drops 15%, your brain will scream, "Sell before it crashes more." That's dopamine talking. That's your ancient survival brain reacting to fear and reward. But you're not a caveman. You're an investor. So you need to train your brain to delay gratification. This is real neuroscience. Studies from Harvard, MIT, and Stanford show that you can retrain your brain's reward system. The trick? Reinforce the right habits on purpose. Every time you resist panic selling. Don't FOMO into a random green candle. Hold steady when others freak out. Reward yourself. Not with money, with internal reinforcement. Write it down in a journal. Today I held because I believe in XRP's long-term global utility. I didn't sell at 20% profit because I'm not here for 20%. I'm here for legacy wealth. Celebrate that moment. Log it. Feel it. Over time, you're not just holding, you're training your prefrontal cortex to prioritize long-term thinking over short-term emotion. This is how investors become consistent. Not by luck, by deliberate neurological conditioning. Step 3. Visualize 10 years out. Program your vision for utility, not price. Here's where 99% of people fail. They anchor to price. XRP at 70 cents. XRP to $1. XRP, when moon. But the real mental edge comes when you anchor to utility. Don't ask what XRP is worth today. Ask what the world will look like when banks, CBDCs, and fintechs are running on RippleNet, and XRP is the universal liquidity layer for instant, borderless value exchange. We're talking about XRP being used as the grease in the gears of global finance, not as a speculative flip, but as invisible infrastructure. So here's the exercise. Create a vision board. Images of cross-border payment corridors, digital banking, Ripple partnerships, and real-time settlement. Write a letter to your future self. The version of you 10 years from now who held through the noise and understood the mission. Read it once a week. Ground yourself in the vision. This isn't spiritual fluff. It's a proven technique used by Olympians, elite entrepreneurs, and even fighter pilots. Visualization strengthens your brain's decision loops. It wires your actions toward outcomes you already believe are inevitable. When you visualize XRP not just at $10, but being used to move trillions in real time, your mindset shifts permanently. You stop being a speculator. You become a strategic holder of infrastructure-grade utility. And in crypto, that mindset is everything. Let's recap. If you want to train your brain to invest in XRP wisely, rewire your inputs. Stop consuming hype. Start feeding your brain fundamentals. Delay your dopamine. Reinforce every long-term action. Journal it. Own it. Visualize utility, not price. Build a mental image so powerful that conviction becomes effortless. Because XRP doesn't reward emotion. It rewards preparation. And if you do the mental reps now, you won't just be watching when the value shifts, you'll be on the right side of it. Let's talk about something nobody wants to hear in crypto. Boring is profitable. You know what the wealthiest XRP holders do? They don't chase green candles. They don't jump from trend to trend. They don't spend 9 hours a day on crypto Twitter scrolling for dopamine. They do nothing sexy. And that's exactly why they win. They automate their buys. They DCA religiously, whether it's raining FUD or mooning memes. They go deeper into white papers when others rage quit their wallets. They stop staring at charts and start building conviction like a muscle. Because wealth, it doesn't come from exciting. It comes from consistency, repetition, and boring execution when no one's watching. Let me give it to you straight. The most important XRP you'll ever accumulate will happen during the months that feel like absolutely nothing is happening. When price goes sideways. When influencers go quiet. When the hype train moves on to the next shiny object. That's when smart money enters. Not loudly, not emotionally, quietly, predictably, boringly. You'll hear people say, "But the price hasn't moved in weeks. XRP is dead. I'm moving to some coin that just 10xd. Exactly. That's when the transfer of wealth begins. Because when markets are boring, emotions fade. And that's when the real players move. The ones with vision. The ones who don't need validation from price. The ones who know. The explosion only rewards those who showed up when it wasn't cool. Want to build generational wealth with XRP? Then train your brain to love the boredom. Not tolerate it, embrace it. When you DCA into XRP for 12 months without fireworks, you're not wasting time. You're building a position that the hype crowd won't have when utility hits critical mass. When you spend an hour reading Ripple's quarterly XRP markets report instead of watching another prediction video, you're doing what most retail investors will never do. Educating your edge. When you ignore the noise, ignore the FUD, ignore the price stagnation, and you keep stacking, keep learning, keep focusing, you're doing what every long-term winner has always done. Because here's the secret that no influencer will tell you. Boring habits build asymmetric wealth. The world-class athletes. They don't train when they're inspired. They train regardless. The top founders? They don't pivot every week. They execute the same plan until the world catches up. And the smart XRP investors? They don't sell because of silence. They buy during it. Because they know what's coming. They know Ripple is expanding into Latin America, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. They know institutional liquidity corridors are forming beneath the surface. They know CBDCs are coming, and XRP is quietly becoming the bridge asset that glues the entire new system together. So while others are whining about price, the wealthiest XRP holders are doing one thing. Training for the moment utility hits velocity. They're not hoping. They're not gambling. They're executing boring habits that compound into generational freedom. So the next time you hear someone complain that XRP is boring, smile. Because that boredom is your advantage. That boredom is when conviction gets cheaper. And that boredom is the window where millionaires are quietly made. Let's finish this with a mental reset that separates the rich from the restless. Because here's the hard truth. Traders want signals. But architects, they build systems. And if you're still treating XRP like a quick flip, you're playing the wrong game. Ask yourself honestly, are you logging into your exchange every morning, praying for a green candle? Or are you building a long-term framework where XRP plays a critical role in your future wealth architecture? Because those are two completely different brain patterns. One leads to exhaustion, regret, and reactivity. The other leads to clarity, momentum, and asymmetric wealth. Let's break it down. A trader wants action. They want entry points, chart patterns, RSI triggers. They chase confirmation bias and flee the second momentum slows. They obsess over price because they have no plan beyond the next week. But an architect, they zoom out. They think in decades, not days. They see XRP not as a token, but as a monetary rail, a bridge between broken financial systems. And they structure their behavior accordingly. So let me ask you again. Seriously, are you treating XRP like a lottery ticket? Or like the foundation of your long-term wealth system? Because millionaires aren't minted by luck. They're built from routines, beliefs, and systems that compound quietly in the background. You want to build wealth with XRP? Then stop gambling. Start designing. Start journaling your decisions. Write down why you're investing and what it would take for you to change your thesis. Capture your logic in the calm so you don't panic in the storm. Start tracking your emotions. Log how you feel when XRP pumps 15%. Log how you feel when it drops 10%. This isn't fluff. This is how hedge fund traders train emotional discipline. They don't just track numbers. They track themselves. Start studying XRP not as hype, but as infrastructure. Study Ripple's partnerships with real financial institutions like SBI Holdings, Santander, and Tranglo. Follow ISO 20022 developments and ask, why are messaging standards being aligned with RippleNet's tech stack? Understand how XRP's speed, neutrality, and liquidity potential are being positioned for enterprise-grade settlement, not retail speculation. When you make that shift from, is this coin going up today? To, how is this protocol reshaping global finance over the next decade? That's the moment everything changes. Because now you're not reacting to price. You're designing a system that can capture value as the world shifts. Let's make this practical. Architects have frameworks. So here's yours. Asset role, define XRP's purpose in your portfolio. Liquidity exposure, infrastructure bet, strategic macro play, acquisition strategy, automate DCA. Remove emotion from entry. Build the position while it's boring. Vision timeline, not 6 months, 6 years. Anchor your conviction to global utility adoption, not Twitter noise. Emotional audit, weekly journal. What made you anxious? What made you want to sell? What reinforced your belief? Ongoing education, replace passive watching with active learning. 1 white paper a week. 1 Ripple update every quarter. 1 deep dive into a corridor, a partner, a CBDC trial. This is what building looks like. Not predicting, not gambling, but engineering. Because here's what no trader will admit. You don't get rich from sniping candles. You get rich from designing a system that doesn't care about them. Traders chase wind. Architects build foundations. And the ones who treat XRP as a long-term protocol, not a short-term play, are the ones who will be holding it when the global liquidity switch finally flips. That's when the world catches up to what you already knew. That's when the architecture becomes reality. That's when the reward doesn't go to the loudest. It goes to the one who planned for it. You want to get really rich with XRP. Don't just buy the token. Become the kind of person who holds it wisely. Train your brain to delay gratification. Absorb real data. Ignore the noise and act with conviction. Because the difference between the people who retire early and the people who rage quit crypto in a bear market comes down to this. One group trained their brain. The other trained their fear. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart and start training to win this game the smart way.